We have an emotional full moon in Libra, but we have two inner planets stationing direct to help us through it. Welcome back to the Hello Food Collective podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I love all things astrology and small business. Today, we are talking about the astrology forecast for the week of April 7th through the 13th. Just a quick reminder to sign up for my newsletter so that you can get a free month ahead horoscope straight to your inbox. Plus, I have some new things cooking up so you can be the first to know when I launch those things. If you want daily reminders for all of these transits happening, then make sure you come follow me on Instagram, which can be linked in the description below. And I post all of these to my story every single day, so you can get a feel for what's happening. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So the first day that we have exact transits is Monday, April 7th, and there's 3 of them. First one is Venus conjunct Saturn. Now, if this sounds familiar, that's because it is. Venus has already been conjunct Saturn, but because it's retrograding, we are feeling it for a second time. Once Venus goes direct later this week, we will feel it for a third time. So this is the point of the touchdown where it's retrograding. And Venus conjunct Saturn is really about a lot of things, really. But it's about getting more serious about our relationships, our finances, and the things that we value. With this retrograde flavor, it's about reflecting upon those things or revisiting or reviewing those things. So it could have us reviewing about our more serious relationships and thinking about why they were more serious, what they brought to us, what they didn't bring to us, and what we might want to bring into our more long-term relationships in the future. This can also help if you need to reflect on your sense of discipline as it relates to your finances. This could happen because something comes up, or maybe you just get a sudden urge to get your stuff together. I do want to say that this energy can also have us feeling a bit restrictive when it comes to our finances and our relationships. We might be feeling like we're not enough in our relationships, make us feel kind of lonely. It's not necessarily a feeling awesome transit. Saturn governs hardships as well. Saturn governs limitations and restrictions. And feeling those in a relationship isn't always fun. So just be mindful of feeling lonely. Maybe if you don't want to feel lonely, or if that's something you're really prone to, spending time with some friends on and around this day, or just taking note of that and being okay with that and making an effort to how you can make more connections might be something that comes out of this. It's probably not the best day to force yourself to get into budgeting if that doesn't come up naturally, because you could be in this scarcity mindset, which just doesn't really feel like a fun place or a productive place to be doing budgeting from. Maybe for some, okay, but it's going to stress you out and feel like you don't have enough, then maybe save it for another day. These two meet up in the sign of Pisces, which does give a sense of interconnectedness and compassion, which could be helpful, especially as it relates to your relationships. But it could also bring this element of fantasizing a little bit. Maybe you come to the realization that you romanticized some relationships in ways that were hurtful to you, which is a good thing to realize so that we cannot do it again. As for business owners, I would use this energy to audit your relationships, your business relationships. Instead of focusing on your finances, because that might stress you out on and around this day, you can look at what relationships you've had, whether it's client, vendor, collaborators, and which one of those have really brought you closer to your long-term goals or have aligned with the responsibilities of your business. Notice what about those brought you there and how can you cultivate more of that. This is a theme. I'm going to bring it up again. Just a few minutes later is the next transit, and that is Mercury stationing direct. Amazing. So this gives us some forward momentum in regards to our mind, our communication, the way we're thinking, and how we're processing things. I will say that Mercury is still in Pisces, so there is that layer of fogginess because Mercury doesn't like to be there. So we'll still be feeling that through April 15th until Mercury moves into Aries. But hey, I will take any little lift of fogginess. As for business owners, if there's anything that you have been feeling a sense of uncertainty around, once this date comes, you may start to get a little piece of clarity. So if you're just feeling kind of lost right now, that's okay. Be in the lostness, see what comes to you. Confusion isn't always a bad thing. It allows us to do what we need to do in order to seek clarity. We're not forcing clarity, we're getting open for clarity to come to us. So this is the time when that clarity might start coming to us. Moving on, we are still on Monday. We have Venus forming a sextile to Uranus. Now, this is a conversation of harmony. This is about bringing some unexpectedness or sudden changes or welcomed excitement into our relationships, our finances, and our value systems. Now, again, Venus is still retrograding. So this could be about reflecting on our past relationships and maybe ones we didn't expect to be in. And we can think about what we enjoyed about those relationships and how we can bring that energy into future ones. I will say this is an energy for bringing up somebody from our past that we just simply weren't expecting. And maybe it's really helpful. Maybe we're walking on the street, we see an old friend, you go grab coffee. I totally support that with this energy. I do want to say if it's like an old loved one, this doesn't necessarily have a strong foundation. So if you guys meet, could get married, but it will most likely fizzle out. So don't put too much weight on it. It's really about being present in this moment, especially because that's just the energy of Uranus. And then we also have retrograde, which suggests that once that planet goes direct, things have a different perspective. This is also about understanding that there's so many different ways to express love. And so Uranus is here to kind of remind us that love can look a lot of different ways. Love isn't just about our romantic partnerships, it's about our platonic friendships as well. How we can really show up with love in those, and there's many different ways to show up in love in our platonic relationships. Uranus is all about freedom and not being restricted to certain limitations that come with a friendship. So just saying, oh, that's my friend, so I can only do X, Y, and Z. Uranus sextile to Venus is here to show us that there's many different ways that we can define our relationships, and that's really between you and the other person. So something may come up that allows you to experience love in a different way, and I suggest that you dip a toe into it, see how it goes. Especially if it's something that is coming up again and you're given another opportunity to look into it. As for business owners, I'm going to suggest something a little similar that piggybacks off of Venus conjunct Saturn, and that is going to be looking at your business relationships and looking at the ones that really give you life and make you feel liberated from other business relationships that you may have had. Just like I was talking about before, there's many ways to feel love. There's many different ways to have a business relationship with people. Obviously, we want to make sure we're in good legal standings. But outside of that, there's many different ways we can interact with people. That doesn't have to be this stiff business type way of collaborating. So again, continuing on with that audit of your business relationships, look at the ones that really made you feel great and alive, and the ones where you could show up as yourself authentically, and figure out a way that you can bring that energy into your other relationships. And if there's any relationships that really do the opposite, see if there's a way that you can minimize them or maybe cut them out. The first half of April is really about creating space for the new things that are going to come in the latter half of April. So just trust that the universe has you and do what you can to create space for the things that make you feel like yourself, or at least test you in ways that feel aligned. The next day that we have exact transits is Saturday, and there's 3 of them again. The first one we have is the Sun conjunct Chiron. Now, this one really plays into the full moon that's happening, which I'll get into in just a minute. But the main highlight here is that the sun is right next to Chiron, which means it's shining light, it's giving life force to Chiron, which rules our deepest wounds. The Chiron wounds are the things that have been with us since childhood, maybe even before. Maybe they're generational trauma. Maybe it's generational trauma or things that have been passed down to us. They are wounds that kind of keep coming back, maybe in different ways, maybe in the same ways. And we do a little bit of healing in this way, then it shows up in a different way, and we continue to heal. So with that, Chiron also rules the way we heal and the way we have compassion for ourselves and others. And it also represents something that we over time become an expert at because we've spent so much freaking energy healing and thinking about and cycling on these topics. So right now, Chiron is in the sign of Aries, which is all about the person, your identity, the individual, you. And so if there's any wounds around how you show up and having confidence in yourself, that could be illuminated with this conjunction. And on top of that, the sun can represent your identity and your sense of purpose as well. So as those things pertain to your sense of purpose, it's easy to feel triggered with this. So pay attention to what comes up and see if you can use it as an opportunity to dig a little deeper into what it means. As for business owners, because our sense of purpose may get triggered in a way that has us feeling vulnerable, I would suggest that you use this energy to stay more present than to make a decision out of. It's very easy to make rash decisions out of fear with this energy, and so I highly suggest that you don't. I'll continue on this with the next transit, which brings me to that, and it is a full moon in Libra. So a Libra full moon is all about balancing that me energy, because the sun is in Aries, with the we energy, which is Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus, and it's all about our relationships and the way that we as individuals can show up for others. So with a full moon, it's all about releasing as well too. And releasing, this full moon I feel like is about releasing people-pleasing tendencies, be about releasing where we want to keep the peace instead of at cost of being authentic to ourselves. Now, this full moon has some interesting transits going on that are probably going to be rather triggering. It's going to bring Chiron into it. So it is forming an opposition to Chiron. So we have the full moon, which is full emotions and our sense of comfort and security, forming in opposition to Chiron, which is about our wounds and healing, right? So these two are having this back and forth push-pull energy of wanting to feel safe and secure and needing to step into the discomfort in order to heal our wounds. We are probably going to be put in a situation where we have to balance out the two. And with both of them being, with one of them being in Aries and one of them being in Libra, there's also this element of caretaking for others and tending to your own wounds, tending to yourself. Where are you hurting yourself in order to prioritize other people's needs and emotions? Sometimes we hide the wounds so that we don't take up space, so that we don't create discomfort or confrontation with others. And something I was speaking about with my friend Raquel, where we make videos together talking about the astrology of each moon and the energy of each moon. She is a medium and she intuitively gathers the energy of each lunation, and I tap in and bring the astrology of it, and it's cool how those two come together. I'll link our latest video in the description below if you wanted to check that out. They're over on her channel. But something that we were talking about is with this full moon, there seems to be this energy of not necessarily wanting to fight for what you need to be heard. So it's like a letting go of this convincing others versus just standing in your own truth and letting that be the thing that allows you to express yourself. So we may be feeling triggered to convince other people that we're right, which honestly might be rather draining. But instead, how can we get comfortable with accepting our truth and embodying that, and that being the form of resistance or expression? Now, I haven't even gotten to the other part of the astrology of this full moon. So we have Chiron and the moon forming an opposition, but both of them are forming a square to Mars. This is what's called as a T-square. So all that energy of Mars opposite the moon is actually being expressed through Mars, which is a planet that rules our desires, our actions, our motivations, and the way we assert ourselves. And it's very easy for Mars energy to turn into aggression or even violence. And so if we're feeling full emotions that are triggered by our deepest wounds and they're being expressed through Mars, it is very easy to be feeling defensive. It's very easy to be in a reactive mode. And you know what? Sometimes that's just the way it is. And we do the things we do and we deal with them. And that's okay. You don't need to be hard on yourself if you do something that you didn't mean to do. All we got to do is accept it and deal with the consequences. It's all right. You'll make it. But if you're here listening, then you have a little bit of foresight that, hey, we and the people around us are probably going to be very reactive and acting out on and around this day. So if we can give ourselves some extra time to take a breath, we can give ourselves and the people around us some grace with the way that we're acting, then things may just feel a little bit lighter. There is going to be some tension just with the dynamic of this aspect when we have a T-square. It's like a tension-filled conversation. And we're going to be having a lot of full emotions, deep, full emotions that have been with us for a long time. And Mars is going to want us to do something about it. But sometimes we don't know what to do. So it may just build up in this angst that we're feeling, especially angst in our body because Mars governs the body. And on top of that, Mars is currently in Cancer. So it's already has this feeling of I need to do something, but we're being asked to feel instead of do. So it's this awkward energy. So what I can suggest is to really focus on tending to your body on and around this day. There may be some wounds that come up that are stored in our bodies that we don't even know about. So if you can move your body, especially in new, weird ways, just kind of allowing it to do whatever it wants to do, then it can help us process some of these emotions and these energies that we're feeling. Maybe try something new. I don't know, Tai Chi, yoga, just rolling around on the floor. If you have kids or around kids, let them lead you. You know how they're kind of just doing funky things with their body? Go with that. It doesn't need to be organized. Maybe it shouldn't be organized. Doing something different and funky with your body can really just help process this, or at least just give you a moment to ground into your body and not be in your head so much about what's going on, not feeling so vulnerable, not feeling so triggered. Okay, luckily, the last transit of the week is Venus stationing direct. Yes, okay, this is wonderful. So although we have although we have kind of a heavier full moon, these inner planets going direct are really going to help pull us through this. And let me just say, once Venus goes direct, all planets will be direct. Fantastic. I feel like it's been forever. It's just for a few weeks. The next planet that goes retrograde is Pluto, which isn't really a big deal. So we don't have any inner planets going retrograde until July. So that's fantastic. Soak it up. So Venus going direct means we get some forward movement towards our relationships, our finances, our value systems, our relationship to beauty, all these things that we have been reflecting on for the past few weeks. If you felt like a disconnect between you and your values, you're like, I don't even know what I value anymore, there might be some clarity coming towards that. And maybe more organically, some things may just start to click. Especially, some relationships may bring themselves forward as well. Some relationships may go away that are necessary for you to let go of. Granted, Venus is still in Pisces. Venus likes to be in Pisces. Venus loves to love, and so does Pisces. It's all about compassion, interconnectedness, and empathy. And so we now have some forward movement again in our relationships as it pertains to being empathetic and to understanding how we're all connected to one another. As for business owners, if there's been any financial decisions that you've been lacking clarity around, that clarity might start to seep in once Venus goes direct. So if you're still unsure, just wait till Venus goes direct, and some things may present themselves to you that you're like, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go in this direction. All right, y'all, that's it for this week. I hope that you have a beautiful week. I am very much looking forward to the inner planets all being direct. I know that full moon might be a little bit heavy, but always remember that when we have harsh transits, they're here to push us along and guide us in the right direction. If everything was lovey-dovey all the time, we would never be motivated to make change, and baby, we need change. So I hope you have a beautiful week. And until next time, stay hella fluid, y'all.